Hey everyone, welcome. Game Guys Advance, episode 13. Howdy, how's it going?
Yeah, ahoy.
Yeah, ahoy. How you doing, James?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Very normal question.
Our last one went pretty bad, so
Yeah,
I thought I'd play it safe.
Yeah, smart choice. I'm doing well. I played a lot of games this past week.
Yeah, me too. I try and play a lot of games most weeks.
Yeah, but
it's nice we get to keep it up.
Yeah, this week's really special though because we played games that are primarily targeted towards cats. So we thought we would cover these games for our cat listeners and sort of just give our takes on everything.
Yeah, and I really, some of these were pretty big releases, and I, looking through the podcast space, really didn't find a lot of other channels talking about these games. So figured our cats just wanted, something for them.
It's weird, right? It almost feels like the games media has something against these games, which, I mean, there's fair critiques for, I think, every one of these games we'll be talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder if that has anything to do with the mobile gaming market. I don't think a lot of people take mobile games seriously, but hey, we got things for cats.
Yeah. So, I mean, should we say up top the games we'll be talking about?
I figure we just go one at a time if you want to throw out game we can talk about, and we'll just work through these almost like a list, but we're not ranking these.
Yeah, no, this isn't a ranking. We'll just be discussing what these games have to offer. Cool. So the first one I have here is a game called Games for Cats. You can find it on the App Store. Did you play Games for Cats?
I did play Games for Cats. I was a little hesitant, so this game, it was only ranking at about 2.75 stars on the App Store, which I don't know how many reviews are from the cats themselves or people kind of speaking on behalf of their cat, so it's really hard to take these reviews seriously.
Well, what is that out of 10?
So, what does that equal out of 10?
It was 2.7?
I guess that would be 2.75. So that's a little more than half out of 5. Is this a D plus?
I think it's a 5.5 out of 10. We in the industry think of things out of 10, so I just wanted to do the quick math.
Oh yeah, good. So this one is a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
on the App Store. Yeah, by a little known developer, Mattis Kuplinskas.
Yeah, and I can go over quickly the things that you do in this game. So you open up the app, and there's no like intro screen or like any UI. It's kind of experimental in that way. But you open it up, and there is this background of like a circuit pattern and a red mouse pointer sort of just moving along the screen.
And if you scroll through this, there's some other levels too. But to your point there, I think this UI is supposed to be experimental in that if a cat were to open this, it would make sense to them. Immediately, a cat opens up the game, they see the laser pointer, they're going to tap it. Boom, and then you're in the game. It's the laser pointer level.
I thought it was kind of bold in that, like, they cut out the nonsense, right? It was, you open up the game, you start playing the game.
True, but if you scroll over a little bit, the nonsense is there. Did you catch that this is the only free level?
Yeah, which I thought was really predatory. I did not give this game my money.
Yeah, and especially because some of the other levels they have look like great for a cat. So there's a mouse level, fish level, bird level, and they got a bugs level. But they sort of went for like a pay-to-win mechanic where you can only get those through money, which if you go through it, it's $3.99 per level. But you can buy the whole game for $6.
Yeah. I'm kind of disappointed by that.
Exactly. I think this game in particular would benefit from a battle pass.
Okay, so they released the battle pass, and as long as you play enough of the game, you get other perks like costumes.
Yeah, costumes, maybe a different laser pointer, but through playing and actually catching the laser pointer, your cat's kind of leveling up and getting like a currency or a cat currency. I think that
Yeah,
would be a good spin on it.
I
But
like that.
eventually through maybe you buy the battle pass, maybe that's the cost of a single level. But through
Mm,
that you can earn currency to unlock the additional levels.
okay, so kind of following like a Fortnite model.
Yeah, I think that would bump this up to, maybe a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Yeah, just I this is one you can tell where it's lacking in battle pass mechanics.
We should talk about the core gameplay loop. I kind of realized that we didn't really touch it.
Sure.
So, I mean, as I described, this red laser kind of bounces around the screen, and as long as you touch it, the number go up. So,
Mm-hmm.
but well, I mean, what I found really telling is that when you touch anything besides the laser pointer, nothing happens, and it got me thinking. You know how Sakurai started that YouTube channel, the Smash Bros. Creator?
Yeah.
He put out this really cool video about how risk and reward is necessary for what he calls quote unquote game essence, which I just loved. Which I think could be equated to like fun factor. And like the higher the game essence is, the lower the broad appeal is. So I think because this game doesn't have much risk, it's for like a broader audience, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to get into, but there's no real like downside to losing.
Now, would that give it a lower game essence on this scale then overall?
Yeah, low game essence, high broad appeal, I think would be this game.
Yeah, and I think that does touch on what was the other video he did? I believe it was on hit stops.
Yeah,
That's what. So essentially, to add sort of an impact to games like this, games of this caliber, if you were to hit the laser pointer, maybe a slight screen stutter or something stopping the action so you can really register how important your hit was. I think
Yeah.
that's lacking here, and just like you said, if you hit anywhere else on the screen, nothing happens. So there's no penalty for doing it wrong and nothing to really indicate that you did it right besides number go up.
Yeah, nothing really there to keep you engaged, you the cat. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think they should watch, one, put a battle pass in, and two, watch Sakurai's videos before putting out more cat games.
yeah, I think a lot of these offerings could learn a lot from that video.
Absolutely.
Cool. So we'll move on.
Sure.
The next game I have here is Mouse for Cats, 2014.
Mm-hmm. Now this was a 4-star game actually on the App Store, which you're gonna have to math that one out for me. What's that out of 10?
4 times 2, I believe, is 8.
Huh. That's a B.
And I kind of agree, to be honest.
Yeah.
Mouse for Cats, again, it's this overhead perspective. Something that I found really striking was the dark wood background. And later on,
Yeah.
I believe you can swap different backgrounds in, which is something that, I mean, not to compare too directly, but Games for Cats was kind of lacking.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now I sort of thought I couldn't really tell if the background was like an old floorboard or like an old 80s dirt basement. Either way, it almost had like this horror aspect to it.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
Yeah, which the tagline for this game, it's touted as the most optimized game for cats.
Which I bet they'll all be saying things along the lines of that, right?
Yeah, I mean this is the only one that claimed it.
I think that says a lot more about their confidence in releasing this game than what it says about the actual game. Developers will talk up their games, but yeah, I mean, Mouse for Cats is very confident in its direction. So the primary gameplay loop here, it's similar to Games for Cats. So like I said, there's this dark wood background and there's a really colorful mouse that runs from off screen back onto the screen. And when you tap it, it chooses a different direction to go and a different speed. So I feel like that really differentiates it from, again, games for cats.
Yeah, so I wanted to touch a bit on how they say this is the most optimized game for cats again. Now, when there's games like Super Smash Bros. Melee, do you think this is nearly as optimized as that?
Well, it's not that Melee is more optimized, it's that there's so much room for optimization, right? That game has been played for, I mean, what, like 20 some years? And people are still like discovering new tech.
So you wouldn't say it's a solved game?
No. Well, we're talking about Mouse for Cats or Smash?
Both in the same light.
I think Mouse for Cats 2014 has been solved, but in Melee and most fighting games, there's always room for optimization.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know how they would... Again, I think once you figure out the core gameplay loop of Mouse for Cats, really I don't know where else to go from there except for trying to get your cat to play a new game.
Well,
like once it's solved, is there more they could do or more the developer could do to reach the standards of Smash Bros. Melee?
I mean, ironically, I feel like you just brought up the solution, right? Isn't it like patch in L canceling, spot dodging, wave dashing?
Oh, wave dashing would be very helpful in this game.
Yeah, I think if you could wave dash, it'd be a lot more engaging.
Yeah, or honestly, putting any like Fire Emblem characters. I know they could introduce a lot of different audiences to the Fire Emblem franchise through Mouse for Cats.
Yeah. I've always thought that Fire Emblem has been kind of missing out on this key demographic, except for that one character in Fire Emblem Fates.
Yeah, so, it depends what game you were playing. In Birthright, they had a cat, but then in Conquest, it was more of a fox.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've only played Birthright.
Yeah, so it depends, which, yeah, I guess Mouse for Cats, I wish there was a different, like, route to play, too.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
Like, different versions. This is one of the few games on here that does have a sequel.
Yeah, I was about to say that the most disappointing part is that they did release a sequel in 2015 titled Mouse and Cheese, but they didn't really improve on the core gameplay loop. In fact, I think they did a worse job here.
I think they made it much worse, which it does have a higher star rating on the App Store. 4.1, if you wanted to know.
Which translates to what, like 8.2, roughly?
Yeah, well, 8.2.
I think that there's a good chance that this game has a higher rating because of the graphics.
The graphics are an improvement if it wasn't such a tryptophobic nightmare. The cheese is too realistic.
I think it's a technical improvement, right? They start moving into 3D, but it's not like a creative improvement, in my opinion. So, again, the sequel to Mouse for Cats. This one is, instead of the overhead perspective, you get this 3D cheese wheel with like a quarter cut out of it. And you see like the cheese holes, which again is maybe triggering your tryptophobia. And mice pop out of the cheese holes and you touch them to kind of create like a whack-a-mouse game.
Yeah.
But in the transition to 3D, I feel like, you know how like N64 games, like the art style doesn't hold up compared to like a Super Nintendo game? Like there's like a timeless kind of aspect to the Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like you can kind of see the holes.
Quite literally.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was kind of disappointing. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's sort of in like that PlayStation 1 N64 era where all the graphics really are blocky because like we have the 3D technology. We're just not really, unlike the first game, we're not optimizing it as well. And I felt like this game fell into a lot of the same tropes of having all these choices of which mouse you can touch in each cheese hole. But like at the end of it, the choices don't matter. It felt a lot like, like BioShock or Mass Effect 3 or something, where at the end of it, your choices didn't matter. And I could see that my cat and, anyone listening at home, you can touch these mice all you want, but it's not going to matter when you're at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's all like a magic trick. Like they make you think that you're making really difficult decisions, but again, if those decisions don't pay off in a meaningful way, then it really falls flat, I feel.
Yeah. Like a sky, almost like Skyrim. Nobody really cared that you were the Dragonborn, just like where the cheese wheel doesn't care how many mice you tap on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
Also,
have
the
like one
icon
more.
was the same. I'm sorry.
The icon was the same. Yeah,
Same
I mean,
icon.
it's lazy stuff. I have one more beef with this game. I found it really disappointing that the mouse that you would tap on was like a really clear, direct reference to the previous game. It was the same like rainbow looking mouse.
Yeah.
And something that I really respect in sequels is like, I guess like in Dark Souls 2, it doesn't like directly reference Dark Souls 1, but like it very loosely feels like the same world, but like maybe 2,000 years in the future. Like you can feel like the world of Dark Souls 1. You can feel its presence, but you can tell that you're just in one cycle for something that's been happening for eternity.
Yes.
Whereas like with Dark Souls 3, you can kind of feel the creators like winking at you, like, hey, in Orlando, remember this? Nudge, nudge.
Remember this place? So would you say that this is the Dark Souls of the Mouse Inn franchise?
I would say this is the Dark Souls 3 to game. I'm sorry, Mouse for Cats is Dark Souls 1. When I think we needed like a Dark Souls 2, something that goes its own direction, but still has like the same feel of the world of Mouse for Cats 2014.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. Dark Souls 3 is the one where your choice doesn't matter at the end?
I mean, all the endings in FromSoft games are like, which terrible ending is least bad?
Yeah, which cryptic cutscene do you want at the end? Which we don't even get any of those here. The game just stops once you hit 650,000.
Frankly, I didn't see the end of this game. I put it down pretty quick because I was that disappointed.
Oh, I just didn't want to put out like an early review score on it unless I completed it.
Oh, okay. I respect that.
Yeah, thank you.
So another game that I played is Happy Cats. Did you play Happy Cats?
No, I did not touch this one.
Okay. So Happy Cats. Sorry, I didn't. Let me look up the App Store review because I feel like we've been doing that for every other one of them. Okay, Happy Cats is a 3.5, so that's like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. So Happy Cats, you open up the game and there's 4 options, right? You can play and there's butterflies in the sky, there's mice
Cute.
on wood again, there's mouse on cheese, and like a laser pointer on a pink background. And I just really feel like this game doesn't do anything that all the other games don't do.
But from what it sounds like, again, I haven't played this one, but it sounds like it's doing everything Games for Cats, Mouse for Cats, and Mouse and Cheese is doing, but in one package.
Right. By giving you all of these options of how you want to play the game up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, actually, I agree with you. The core gameplay loop is that there's a mouse on the screen, or, I mean, butterfly, laser pointer, whichever you pick at the beginning of the game. And it runs from corner to corner of the screen, and you're supposed to touch it. And then something I actually wrote down, the mouse dying is like really brutal. It goes like poof and like evaporates essentially.
Gets dusted?
Yeah, it pretty much gets dusted. I thought it was really violent. It kind of feels like like in Mortal Kombat, like the fatalities, they're like, I don't know.
Like X-ray moves where it's showing like you stepping on a rake and it crushing your skull.
Yeah. That's what it feels like.
What's the ESRB rating on this for cats?
Oh, I should check that. 1 sec, let me Google it real quick.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay. It's rated adults only. Like
Whoa.
A. Yeah. That explains it.
That explains the gratuitous dust.
Yeah, all the violence. Personally, I think the way I've been gauging my tolerance for violence is that, so I watched Attack on Titan season 1 and thought it was like really tight.
Mm-hmm.
And sometime between that and Attack on Titan season 2, I tried watching season 2 and I was like,
It's the first episode.
I don't know if this is for me anymore.
Yeah. I fell off for a couple years after that episode.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a personal taste.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully, again, we don't want to spoil anything for any of our cats that are watching Attack on Titan at home.
Yeah, I mean, just expect violence, right? That's what anyone should expect while maybe watching that.
So there's probably a demographic for this game. Just, be wary of what you download.
Yeah, know that this game is rated adults only, and make
cats.
your decision from there. So another game that I played is called Cat Games. Did you play Cat Games?
Oh, looking over these names, it looks like I almost played Cat Games, but I did not.
Oh, okay. I can go over this one pretty quickly. I think what makes Cat Games really special is the song that plays right when you open the video game.
Yeah, I didn't hear any notable music in the other games. I wish I played this one then.
Yeah. So something about, we'll talk about, I think we've been saving the best for last here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll save my comments for that game until then. But it contrasts this game, whereas this game, you open up the app and it's a absolute banger. I'm going to play a little bit of the audio for you.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, so I feel like that would be super off-putting to a cat, but pretty good on the human ears. I don't think that song was for the cat. Which I'm sorry if we just lost half our cat listeners during that bit.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. I mean, we can only talk about this from the human perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know that song rips.
Yeah, hopefully. So if there's any any cats that check out that game after this episode, please just write in. Let us know what you think about that song.
Yeah, I mean, we should have said maybe up front that we're not really qualified to talk about these games because we are not cats. We can only come at it from the human perspective, and we won't be able to give you the full. We can't relate to these games necessarily, but we just know it's important that someone covers this. We don't even see any cats covering these games, which is weird.
Yeah, and we just hope we can kind of grow and learn through, hearing firsthand what cats are experiencing with these games.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think what maybe our listeners have been waiting for this whole time. The last game that we have on our list here is called Catfishing, a game for cats.
Yeah, and this one was kind of huge. This is the only one I kind of saw some coverage for. So this one comes from smaller developer Purina and Friskies, which to the cat world, this is actually more like the EA and Ubisoft of cat games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and this one actually has it's a 4-star rating, so that's fine. It's fine in the cat world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so what happens when you open up Catfishing, a game for cats, is that they ask you to create an account so that they can email you offers for Purina food.
Yeah, it's the Friskies Fun Club.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
So at first I didn't like it at all, because with my my human brain, we get a lot of ads. We download a lot of stuff from the App Store, so we're getting exposed to this as much more. So cats might not catch this right away, but you can just hit it only gives you one option. So it seems like you have to sign up. But if you just hit OK and then exit out of there, you can continue playing as a guest cat.
Right. Like there's a workaround, but it's very not obvious.
Not intuitive.
Yeah.
It's free though.
Yeah. So you don't have to sign up for the account, but I think the way that they insist, they insist so strongly that it's kind of off-putting. It kind of feels like when you log into like an Assassin's Creed and they say, "Oh, what's your Ubisoft account?"
Yeah, sign in with your Uplay to play this single-player game.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was a little off-putting in that kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was nice that, I was able to help my cat enter his name into the game. So it was the one that felt like it was a little personalized too, sort of like an RPG mechanic where you can choose your own name in the game. It's kind of like, that's like your cat avatar.
Yeah, totally. We should say when you start this game, it asks you to enter your name, your gender, when your human adopted you, and what your guess is at what your birthday is. And you can help your human take a photo of you to have a profile picture. So you can log into your catfishing profile before you play the game.
Yeah, which is great because my cat actually opted to upload a photo of a dragon. Sort of like almost like an Argonian in Skyrim. So it was cool that it's like a character creator to them.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be your picture if you don't want to. I mean, we don't know what Purina is doing with these photos, so maybe it's smarter that you have like just an icon.
Yeah, you don't want the FBI getting your photo, the furry Bureau of Intelligence.
Yeah.
All things considered, I would say this is definitely the most well-made of the bunch.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the double-sided coin, right? It's this big developer, Purina and Friskies, but I think because of their funding, they're able to create the best video game for cats on the marketplace.
Yeah, like the water mechanics are really well made. I think like the actual gameplay was pretty fun.
Yeah. So how would you describe the gameplay?
So you kind of have like an above hand view, think like or like an isometric view, like a Diablo 3, Pathfinder or something. But yeah, you're kind of looking over like a koi pond almost, but there's different size fish in there, and as they're swimming around, you're tapping them, and they kind of like jump out of the water every time you touch one.
And do you get points when you tap them?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, something that I thought was really like technologically advanced for this game is that it says depending on which fish that you like to touch, a lot of these fish are different sizes and colors, but the game will track which fish that you like to touch and then start feeding you more of those fish. I don't know if you caught that when you played it.
Yeah, which I was thinking kind of hit the opposite of as for Mouse and Cheese, your choices didn't matter. But in this game, they actually do have the game sort of constantly changing around your play style.
Yeah, which was really smart. And again, if you log in, say your name is Ben, and you log into this game, they know which fish that you like to touch. So I thought that was really smart.
Yeah, you have like different cat profiles on there too. So if you're like a multi-cat family or something, everyone can kind of have a turn.
Yeah, definitely.
So there was like a bit of like, I was kind of dropping some frames. I ran a frame test on it. Very rarely was I breaking 60 frames per second. It's kind of in like that 45 range. And my phone is from 2021. It's a year old. But like, we see Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch running just fine on nearly 6-year-old hardware.
Yeah.
So what's up with this game?
Yeah, and I know a lot of games have an option. I kind of wish this game would let you say, hey, I want to play this game at 4K at like 30 frames per second. Or if you care a lot more about the frame rate, maybe you cut it down to 1080 by 1920 and lock in that frame rate at 60.
Yeah, there's no real options there. Yeah, even like Breath of the Wild, that game also runs fine, and it's and you don't have to have choices because they sort of optimized it for the hardware, as this game where I think they maybe tried to fly a little too close to the sun.
Yeah. I'm actually glad you brought up Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what this game does do well, we've talked about the AI learning and the frame rate and stuff, but I think creatively, this is one of the stronger games out here.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that, like, the background for this game is like flowing water. You hear the water flow. I believe when you touch the fish, it makes like a noise, and you can hear birds chirping in the background. That they really wanted you to be immersed into this game, where I think the other games didn't make any effort to do that,
Yeah, absolutely. And with a lot of the other games, I kept having to tell Ben, like, hey, Ben, turn that down. It's too loud. It really hurts my ears. Stop.
Yeah.
And, he turned down. But this game, I honestly was playing for like 62 hours or something over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly just didn't even, it didn't register. It was just such nice background noise to me.
Yeah, and that immersion will keep you engaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even just like creatively, I don't know. I couldn't help but think about Fumita Ueda's Design by Subtraction. They removed all of these elements from this game, and what this game feels was super important wasn't the advertisements in the corner or the gratuitous way the fish die, but creating this environment that feels I don't know. It was just beautiful. Yeah.
Damn.
Sorry, I just teared up a little bit.
Yeah, I figured I'd just kind of let you have a moment there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one game I feel like where the developer really had the cat in mind. Like they have the Friskies Fun Club, but even that's free. It's just beautiful having a family of rescue cats, or any fosters listening. Like this game might be one that's trying to reach you and something you can maybe relate to.
Yeah, absolutely worth your time. So that is all of the games that we played this week, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I did play Fish Dissector 6. Again, rated A for adult cats, but yeah, the core gameplay loop is getting your cats to slice your iPad screen open, and when it registers a claw through pressure points, it rips the fish in half and then throws it off to the side, and then you get more fish. It kind of has you working in like a makeshift fish factory, but you're a cat.
Yeah, and I left this game out intentionally, but we can talk about it. Because I did not enjoy this game.
Yeah, and this one they actually did get the Mortal Kombat sound team to work, so you can kind of hear for example, when you get into the tunas, there's different types of fish the cat can dissect. They sort of just have a plunger going into a big vat of silly putty, and they're just kind of sloshing that around.
Yeah. Have you watched videos of the Mortal Kombat sound team doing their work?
Yeah, I have.
They'll rip open a bell pepper, and it sounds like someone crushing a skull.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, and they really they got full creative control over this game for that specifically.
Yeah. So I have one note on this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just disappointing. The narratives don't have highs or lows. I think it keeps you at that low point for as long as possible, where I think you need some contrast to make all of that gruesome death and violence more it makes it more emotionally impactful, but also makes the game as a whole more palatable.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think about The Last of Us Part 1 just dropped recently.
Mm-hmm.
And a brief spoiler note for Last of Us. There's a moment in that game where you stumble upon an abandoned zoo and you see giraffes roaming freely, and it's this gorgeous set piece. But I think what that scene does is it makes all of the gruesome, unhappy parts of The Last of Us more strong, because you have that contrast in mind, and all of the miserable parts of The Last of Us make it so this moment is so powerful just because it contrasts so hard.
Yeah, giving the player narrative breathing room, I think really helps someone get through the experience when you have a dark game like that. But there's none of that in Fish Dissector 6.
Like, if there was one moment of that game that was just like gorgeous, but it's all just grim and dour, I wouldn't recommend it personally.
Yeah, that one has a 1 out of 10.
It's what it deserves, in my opinion. So I think that's all we have for today. If you've made it this far into the episode, thank you so much for listening. Where can people or cats find us online?
Yeah, so people, start off, they can find us on twitter.com at Game Guys Advance. Same with our Twitch and YouTube profile. All that's at Game Guys Advance. And wherever you find podcasts. Cats, you can find us at the pet store with our name brand cat toys. Cat Guys Advance.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Cat Guys Advance, big recommend. Thanks again for listening, and next week we'll be talking about more human-oriented games again. Yeah, but that's what we have for today.
Yeah, so thanks to all the cats for sticking by. Usually we say ahoy for our listeners, but we'll say meow to our cats.
Meow.